Hey, what's up guys? John here. Justin Trudeau is now blaming grocery stores and big box distributors for the rising cost in food prices.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his government are also taking aim at grocery giants here in Canada.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is calling on grocery store heads to stabilize food prices while Canadians struggle to put food on the table.
And what he's saying is saying that he's going to be increasing taxes on these food suppliers dramatically, and he's not ruling anything out of the question, including things like price controls.
If their plan doesn't provide real relief for the middle class and people working hard to join it, then we will take further action, and we are not ruling anything out, including tax measures.
Now, we've seen this before in the past. We've seen pretty draconian measures in the past, and it looks like it's going to be coming. It's not just to Canada. AOC at the same exact time came out saying that inflation is propaganda, right-wing propaganda. I believe that we're stepping into a day and age where the next year or so, we could see a situation where just reporting on real inflation information could be viewed as misinformation, and many people might not even be able to report on this anymore. So keep track of your receipts. You do your own research on your own spending, because I know when I go to a store and I buy a bag of groceries, it's costing me twice what it cost me just a couple of years ago. I'm going to break down exactly what's going on for you. Please hit the like button. When you hit the like button, YouTube will share this content to educate the people about what's really going on in the US economy. And if you want to fix your credit, you want to position yourself for the greatest wealth transfer of all time, which we're in right now, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, anything negative holding you back from a bright future, go to GreatCreditFast.com. We're stepping into crazy times, and as this happens, banks are going to start tightening up on lending. And if you want to put yourself in a position to be somewhat immune from some of the insanity, the more successful you are, the better credit you have, the easier the world will be. Go to GreatCreditFast.com. Look at this. This just came out. Control grocery prices or face new taxes. Now, it's very interesting because if you look at what's going on with oil prices, you look at the massive regulations that have been pushed forward on businesses over the last couple of years, the restrictions, supply chains, all the chaos, they're completely ruling any of that out as to blame, and instead pointing the finger at capitalism, saying that big government is going to solve this problem. That is a recipe for disaster for the citizens of Canada and for America. Take a look at this. So control grocery prices or face new taxes. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has warned grocery chains that they could be hit with new taxes if they do not take steps to control food prices. Now, these grocery stores are going to have one of two options. The first is a lot of mom and pop grocery stores are going to go out of business. The second is they start to really reduce food quality. You know, I mean, right now they're putting plastics and all this, hazardous material in our foods. Imagine if they're told that they have to reduce prices by 20 or 30%. You think they're going to increase the quality in which we eat? No. Food quality is going to get much, much worse. Trudeau said the heads of 5 of the largest supermarket chains, including Walmart and Costco, would be asked to come up with a plan to address rising prices before Thanksgiving. Trudeau, who is facing questions about his leadership amid sagging public approval, also announced that the sales tax would be waived for the construction of new rental apartments as a part of measures to address cost of living concerns. It's going to be used to fund new apartments, right? Just like what they said in Los Angeles. They said a mansion tax, they're going to tax properties $5 million to $10 million and above. They're going to start to tax them 4.5% from $5 million to $10 million and 5.5% above. And this is going to be used to fund the solution for homelessness. But what ultimately happened is that they just took all this money in and then they just funded a tenant advocacy network to sue landlords. So when they say that, no, this is for your protection, just know, when in history has that ever been true? If their plan doesn't provide real relief for the middle class and people working hard to join it, then we will take further actions, and we are not ruling anything out, including tax measures. Trudeau said that it did not make sense supermarket chains were making record profits at a time when many Canadians were struggling to make ends meet. Large grocery chains are making record profits, he said. Those profits should not be made on the backs of people who are struggling to feed their families, right? Look at what AOC said. AOC constituents slam her claim that inflation is propaganda, right? This is very concerning when this starts to come out saying inflation is propaganda, because you know where this is going. You know what happens next. right? It's propaganda, but our constituents aren't buying it. The firebrand Democratic Congresswoman used her Instagram stories to share a video, New Zealand's left-wing league, in which the activists claimed the propaganda surrounding inflation was designed to protect greedy shareholders, right? It was designed to protect capitalists. It was designed to protect business owners, right? Who believes this? Who are truly to blame for the rising cost of living? Well, a couple things could be blamed for the rising cost of living. Horrible, horrible global policies, left, right, and center. If you look at what's going on, how much money they printed 40% of all USD since 1776, over 250 years, inside of a 2.5-year window. Inside of a 2.5-year window, they inflated the entire economy. They pushed people to work from home. They issued insane policies, eviction moratoriums, forbearances on mortgages, utility bills optional. Everything was optional. And then they issued massive restrictions on supply chains. They're intentionally destroying what I believe was a great, great country, a great world, and they're ushering in sheer chaos. This is only just the beginning, I'm telling you. The White House has reportedly touted Bidenomics' plan to combat soaring prices. Well, if this is working anything like what we've seen in the last couple of years, I'm telling you, that is probably not going to be good for this country. Latasha Law, 41, a certified nursing assistant, single mother of 3, a grandmother, paused outside of Key Food in the Castle Hill area of the Bronx to say she was struggling financially since the pandemic. Most people are struggling. Like most people, even people making $75,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year are struggling. They're barely making it, right? Because 5 years ago, if you were making $100,000 a year, you had options. Like you could get a really nice apartment, you had ability to save money, you could pay your taxes, you can do all of these things, and you were advancing. Now, if you're making $100,000 a year and you're living in Los Angeles or New York City, you're stacking credit card debt, right? Just to make ends meet, trying to figure out how you're going to make some money. So this is the direction the way the world in which is going. And looking back just in history, remember, like when they did this before, there's so many eerie similarities as to what they did and why they did it and what is actually happening today that people need to understand, because you can learn a lot from history. It says, with inflation surging right now, U.S. leaders are naturally thinking about how to fight it. In modern times, that responsibility has mostly fallen on the Federal Reserve. The Fed can and most likely will raise interest rates to cool down the economy, which should theoretically lower demand for goods and services and reduce upward pressure on prices. This will also likely bring pain to many Americans, and the economy is forced to slow down. Back during World War II, the United States took a radically different approach to fighting inflation, and the mess that ensued might explain why the Bidenomics and most other policy makers are reluctant to try it out again. Planet Money just released a great episode that delves into the history of different details and cool archival sounds, and you should check it out. The threat of inflation loomed even larger during World War II than it does today, as Americans became the arsenal of democracy, and we spent massively on machines and supplies for the war. The federal deficit skyrocketed from about 3% GDP in 1930 to almost 27% GDP in 1943, which is far and away the worst the deficit has ever been. Meanwhile, factory workers and materials were all repurposed for the war. Millions of productive workers left the labor force to enlist in the army. And this combination of factors, lots of deficit spending, right? Look back in the last couple of years, in the economy, war measures, and reducing the capacity of the economy to supply and satisfy the demand. With a recipe for runaway inflation, President Franklin Roosevelt and his administration knew that they had seen rampant inflation during and after World War I. Prices rose more than 80%, seems very, very familiar, between the war years of 1917 and 1920. The administration wanted to prevent this from happening again, so they embarked in a monumental effort to cool inflation by freezing prices with price controls. But it did not stop there. What they ultimately ended up doing is what they're doing right now. They started this in 2021. The policy effectively neutralized one of the central functions of the free market, which is allocated of scarce resources. In a free market, if there's not enough of something, then the prices will continue to go up. This reduces demand for that product. It also sends a signal to businesses to produce and supply more of that product. Without this price mechanism, most economists believe that the market struggles to remedy shortages and society scrambles to figure out what it gets next. During the early 1940s, when the Federal Reserve, the federal government, began eliminating free market pricing on goods in short supply, it began allocating these scarce resources in a different way. It created a rationing system where the government assigned stamps, ration stamps, right? Almost like a universal income. And to buy these products in short supply, like coffee and canned foods, dairy meat, bicycles, cars, tires, gasoline, clothes, and sugar, American consumers not only had to pay money, but they also had to use government-issued ration stamps. The claim was to limit the amount of protected goods that any one person or household could purchase to ensure an equitable, same keywords, distribution. I mean, these are the same keywords we're hearing now, right? Buzzwords. The government sent each American household ration books containing and removing stamps with ration points, and it created a complicated and ever-changing system of assigning ration points to specific products. So if we look at what's going on right now, universal basic income, pilot programs. In 2021, there was only 11 pilot programs in America. Now there's 82 pilot programs across 29 states, an 800% increase inside 2 years. When you look at what they're doing, and they're pushing, saying inflation is fake, saying that this is all propaganda, but then in Canada saying that they need to control prices and control how much grocery stores can charge for food. Meanwhile, they push forward crazy policies to completely destroy capitalism from within. What do you think is going on here? What are your thoughts on it? Drop below, hit the like button, add me on IG. I'm telling you, we're in the greatest wealth transfer of all time. It started in 2020, it's ramping up now. Over the next couple of years, things are gonna get so crazy. You wanna make really responsible, smart decisions today to protect yourself and to put yourself in a position where you have great options in the future. If you need help fixing your credit, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. Don't let one or a few items on your credit report get in the way of a bright future. Go to GreatCreditFast.com. Book a call. I'll catch you guys in the next video.